Hey guys, I'm ChrisBuck and a very warm welcome to Friday Fretworks, and this week we're taking a look at the Fender Stratocaster and asking the question, is it the greatest guitar ever made? So if you're a frequent viewer of Friday Fretworks, you may well remember a video I released only a few months ago where I made, if I say so myself, a relatively strong case for the Telecaster potentially being the greatest guitar ever made. And to be honest, for the reasons I gave in that video, I'm pretty sure I stand by my conclusion. It's simple, reliable, but incredibly versatile, and the eclectic list of musicians who played one over the years clearly attest to as much. But as great a guitar as it undoubtedly is, it can't be ignored that the guitar that succeeded it only 3 years later has easily eclipsed its legacy. Far and away the biggest selling and most imitated guitar design of all time, the Stratocaster has gone on to become the very image of electric guitar. So surely it stands to reason that if Leo Fender's first ever guitar design, the Telecaster, was near enough perfect, then surely the more successful Telecaster 2.0 is the better guitar. Let's take a look at a few of the reasons why this may be the case. It's been incredibly well documented that for a man whose surname is synonymous with the world of guitar, Leo Fender of course couldn't play one. He was an engineer first and foremost, but like all great engineers, wasn't too proud to value the advice of others, and it's estimated that on average, a quarter of every one of Leo's working days was spent speaking to musicians and guitarists, taking their advice and feedback from the very people who were out there in the wild, as it were, using his instruments on a day-to-day basis. And in that respect, the Stratocaster was very much Leo's vision of the evolution of the Telecaster. A refined, contoured body that was much more comfortable to play than its chopping board-like sibling. Double cutaways taken from the P-bass design, actually, allowing for much easier access to the higher frets, an extra pickup for increased functionality, and most importantly, Leo's piece de resistance, the synchronized tremolo, an inbuilt unit that was an adjustable bridge, tailpiece and vibrato system combined. Now vibrato, or tremolo, arms weren't a new thing, but Leo's adaptation and improvement of the existing designs by Doc Kaufman and Paul Bigsby was the first that was a fundamental part of the guitar's design, and after filing his patent in August of 1954, it was finally granted in April of 1956. By comparison, the Telecaster's appointments are positively agricultural, and with the exception of guitars influenced by the Stratocaster, it's not really been any guitars since that are as well appointed or are as operable with such an effortless functionality as the Stratocaster. It speaks volumes that the Stratocaster is easily the most imitated guitar design of all time. Whether it's direct copies, boutique builders putting their own spin on it, and even down to Fender's major competitors. Of course, people will look to the PRS Silver Sky as a notable example, but to be honest, a look through any guitar manufacturer's website will yield one or two examples heavily inspired by a Strat, whether it's in its shape or design and or its functionality. Now, if the Telecaster was Leo's blueprint of a guitar, the Stratocaster was very much the fruition. rich as a Telecaster's history undoubtedly is, the list of musicians who've chosen a Stratocaster and its synchronized tremolo as an integral part of their sound is absolutely staggering. Eric Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jeff Beck, Mark Knopfler, David Gilmour, Rory Gallagher, Ritchie Blackmore, John Mayer, Yngwie Malmsteen, Hank Marvin. The list is virtually endless, and of course atop it are two musicians who've arguably had a bigger impact on the world of guitar than anyone before or since. Of course, talking about Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. Now, for everything that has been said of Jimmy and Eddie, of which there is much, one name that isn't always mentioned as a Stratocaster player, but arguably someone who had a bigger impact on the guitar's legacy than anyone before or since, is Buddy Holly. It's often overlooked that the Stratocaster, upon its release, wasn't an instant success, and in 1954 and 1955 combined, Fender only sold around 720 of them. Compare that to well over 1,000 Telecasters, which of course was well established by that point. It would take an appearance by Buddy Holly, Strat in hand, on the Ed Sullivan Show on December 1st of 1957 to really cement the guitar's legacy going forward. And from that point, Fender really were struggling to keep up with demand. And it's estimated that from that point, over 3 million Fender Stratocasters have been sold, easily making it the biggest selling guitar of all time. In the recent Telecaster video I made, I talked about it having a workmanlike versatility. There's a weird paradox in a guitar that isn't especially well featured, actually bringing out the most in your playing. But it's testament to the store that Leo Fender put in the advice and feedback of those that he consulted in the design process of the Stratocaster, that the Strat maintained all of the ergonomic simplicity of its older brother, but with an unprecedented level of functionality. Of course, that extra pickup, and as of 1977, when Fender included the 5-way selector, as opposed to the 3-way, which was a very common player modification up until 77 anyway, there's an area tone that you can't get out of a Fender Stratocaster without it ever feeling fussy or fiddly. Of course, the late 70s and early 1980s saw the introduction of the Super Strat, which, thanks in part to the innovations of the likes of Ritchie Blackmore and of course Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstrat, placed the Stratocaster into the hands of a new generation. Quick change to a humbucker in the bridge and a Floyd Rose in place of the synchronized tremolo, and you had a guitar that was manufactured by the likes of Yamaha, Aria, Hamer, Kramer, Jackson, Charvel. Even Gibson ventured into Super Strat territory in 1981 with the Victory. In some way, shape or form, the Stratocaster has been at the front and centre of nearly every genre of music since its introduction in 1954. course, that's not to say that Stratocaster is without its flaws. Paul Davids made a brilliant video a few months ago where he talked about a few of the very common frustrations that people have with a Strat. Namely, the placement of the pickup selector can sometimes get in the way, irrefutably. Positions 2 and 4 sound fantastic in isolation, but do have a bit of a tendency to disappear in a mix. And of course, if you have the tremolo floating and snap a string, the entire guitar is going to go out of tune. Really isn't without its problems, and despite being a dyed-in-the-wool Strat player that I am, I would say that an all-rounder, I think the Telecaster is arguably a better guitar. Yes, it's considerably less featured, but there really is a magic in that minimalism and the intent it demands of your playing that really is inspiring. All of that said, it's a Strat that's my main guitar and is the guitar that I collect at every given opportunity, so what the hell do I know? As ever, I'm ChrisBuck. Thank you very much for watching Friday Fretworks. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon if you haven't already, and I shall see you next week for another episode. Cheers guys, take care, I'll see you soon.